They wanted that dialogue with God. And after the first two, their ears were ringing, their souls couldn't even take it, and they were screaming, Moses, you tell us the rest! And so he did. Zera Shimshon this week tells us, and he analyzes that famous phrase, Naaseh v'nishma. Moses presents the Jewish people with the Torah, the Word of God, and all together answer, Naaseh v'nishma, we will do and then we will hear. Zera Shimshon asks two powerful questions. He says, the Gemara tells us that at that moment that the Jewish people answered, Naaseh v'nishma, we will do and then we will hear, there was a heavenly voice. In Hebrew we call it a bat kol. A heavenly voice in the heavens that announces, who told these people the secret of my angels? What does that mean, the Zera Shimshon says? What's the secret of my angels? What's going on? So he's going to analyze that. But he has a more fundamental question, and this is all of our question. How can someone do if they're not told what to do? How can I say, I'll do and then I'll hear? How do I know? I'll go. Where am I going to go? Well, where you'll tell me. But how can I start going if I don't know a direction, a place, something? It could be east, it could be west, it could be completely the wrong way. I will build and I will listen. How can you build something? I don't know. Do I want a chair? Am I going to tell you a table? A house? What am I telling you to do? How can the Jewish people say, we will do and then we will hear, and get merit for saying it that way? It just doesn't make any sense. So listen to what the Zera Shimshon says. He answers with a Midrash. The Midrash quotes a pasuk in the book of Leviticus. And I'll quote, Asher yaseh ha'adam v'hai bahem. When a person fulfills this, the Torah, they will be able to live by them, and we should live by them. The Midrash says, it doesn't say when the Kohanim will fulfill the Torah and they will live by it, or the Leviim, or even the Jewish people. It says, Asher yaseh ha'adam, mankind, and they will live by it. The Midrash says that Jews and Gentiles alike, when they fulfill the Word of God, they receive merit. The Talmud tells us, however, there's a difference. There's a difference too when a Jew fulfills the will of God and a Gentile fulfills the will of God. When a Jew fulfills the will of God, the Talmud says in Hebrew, it's considered a mitzuveh ve'oseh, one who is commanded and then follows through. And a Gentile is eno mitzuveh ve'oseh. A Gentile is not commanded to do the 613 and does. They both get merit, but one of them has a greater merit. Contrary to popular belief, if a father asks two children, Reuven and Shimon, and he asks one of them, he says, Reuven, please bring me a glass of water. And they both get up and they go to the kitchen. Knowingly, not knowingly, it doesn't matter. And they both come back with a cup of water. Who is appreciated more? Who did a greater deed? The one who was told to do it and brought it? Or the one who voluntarily did it and brought it? Many think the second. The one who did it voluntarily. The answer the Talmud tells us is no, it's the one that is commanded to. Rabbi, why? That's not fair. If I have my two children, I tell one to bring, and the other one brings, That one that did it voluntarily, that's the greatest demonstration of love. They should have a greater merit. Talmud says no. You know why? When a person is commanded to do something, automatically they have, I'll call it a yetzer. They have this drive to now not want to fulfill. And if they fulfill it, it means they did two things. It means that they overcame their desire to disobey, as well as fulfilled the command and task at hand. When a person does it voluntarily, when a person does it when they're not told to do so, there's no yetzer hara not to do it. There's no evil inclination not to do it. So if they do it, they only took that one step. They didn't have to take a step down and then take two steps. Tosafot, the commentary on the Gemara, both in Masechet Kiddushin and in Masechet Avodah Zarah, says it's considered like pat bisalo, bread in basket. A person who has bread in their basket, they're not always looking around, they're not always hungry. But a person who doesn't have something to eat, they're always looking. A goy, the explanation, can always leave what they do for God because they're not obligated to do it. They could always go back to what they used to do. A Jew does not have that choice. We are commanded. And since we are commanded and we have this drive to disobey, I'll teach you something about human people and human relations. You want something done? Use this magic word. Can you do me a favor? You tell your husband, your wife, your children, your friend, can you do me a favor and XYZ? As soon as you go and say, get me this, do me this, buy me this, write me this, print me this, the person gets tense. It's our nature. The same thing with God. He commanded us. As a command, even from God, we get tense. We almost want to disobey. It's in our innate nature, in our deep being to want to disobey. Why? We want to be the deciders. We want to be individual. I want to choose where I go, what I do, who I speak to, what I say, what I eat, what I buy, what I sell. It's me. I want to make the choice. It's part of us to want to disobey. Because it's part of us to want to disobey, and because God commanded us to do so, we overcome that feeling of wanting to disobey, wanting to be independent, and then actually fulfilling the will of God. Why did I take us on this interesting tangent? The Zera Shimshon now brings the Mishnah in Masechet Avot, first chapter, third Mishnah. It says, Al tiyu kavadim hamishamishim et harav al menat lekabel pras. Don't be, as a Jew to God, don't be like a slave or servant who serves their master for the reward. Ela tiyu, rather be like kavadim hamishamishim et harav al menat shelo lekabel pras. Rather serve God the way a servant and a slave serves their master with no intention to receive reward. Now, with that, the Zera Shimshon goes on to explain. When the Jewish people came and they said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and then we will hear and know what to do later, but we're going to do. What were they saying? They're saying, we will do as you say, and we don't care what type of reward we will get. Naaseh, tell us and we'll do. V'nishma, and then we'll hear what our reward will be. Doesn't really matter, they said, whether we get a reward like one who's commanded to do and then does, which is a greater level, or even if we only get a less reward as if we weren't commanded and we still fulfilled it. Doesn't matter, they said. Tell us, we will do, We don't care about the reward. We want to be like Avadim Hamishamishim et Harav, like slaves serving their master, al menat shelo lekabel pras, with the intention not to receive reward. We don't care. Reward will be there. We know you'll have it for us. But its value and its amount, it doesn't matter. We're doing it for you. We're doing it because we want to connect to you. And that is the secret of the angels. God's angels serve him with no intention of reward or no reward. They do it for the one and only reason, to connect to God. Because they have, as the Zera Shimshon explains, this innate desire to serve God, to be with God, to connect to God. When the Jews mentioned that secret chemistry, that ingredient of will do and we don't care about the reward, wow. Then the heavenly voice comes out, that's the secret of the angels. Wow, you Jewish people are great. We learn from this concept of Naaseh v'Nishma something fascinating about the way we approach our commandments, the Torah, and the fulfillment and the learning of it. It means we are not supposed to look for what's the reward going to be. Just do. Just do, it will be there. There's two different interpretations given by the Rishonim. What does that mean? Serve God without the intention to receive merit. Maimonides, the Rambam, says, do it as a child to a parent. The same way as a child's desire is to please their parents, as Jews and the children of God, we need to find within ourselves that simple desire to want to serve God and cling and connect to God. And that's what it means to serve God without the intention of the merit. Just like when a child serves their parent, a merit will follow, a reward will follow. But a good child, I say a good child, it's not so obvious. A good child doesn't care for the reward. The reward is second place. The most important is that connection between the parent and the child. Same too with us and God. Rabbeinu Yonah, he gives a different interpretation. He says, you know what that means? Serve God and not for the reward? It means serve God and not for the reward to come. Serve Him out of gratitude for what He's already given you. A person can count and never stop counting what we have. The world was created, mankind was created, miraculously, and I say miraculously because we can't take it for granted, that father, child, for generation to generation, for thousands of years, survived in order for you to be standing here today. Along the centuries, many people have come and gone, and not all have had children, and even those who had children, they could have passed away. Who says a person 10 generations back, their ancestor was in an accident, in a freak accident, saved miraculously? All of that was divinely ordained so that you can be sitting here today. The fact that we were born complete, that we can see and speak and move and put food on the table, spouse, children, grandchildren, anything and everything that we have, a roof, a community, a family, anything and everything that we have, that's why we serve God. We don't serve God al menat likabel pras, on what we're going to get, the new merit that's coming our way. Just contemplating on what we already have is worth it for us to serve God because we know it comes from Him. And no matter how dark and gloomy and bitter sometimes life seems for certain individuals, remember, and we could laugh to this, that it could always be worse. Sometimes things feel like everything's caving in on us. And the greatest anecdote given was about an individual who complained that he doesn't have enough room in his house. It is him and his wife and 10 kids, no less than 10 kids. in a small barn on a farm. And he had a wise friend that came over to him and told him, on Sunday, bring the cow in your living room. On Tuesday, bring the sheep in your living room. On Wednesday, put your chicken coop in your kitchen. And it went on for a week, and every single day brought more animals and more animals. The next week, on Sunday, tell the cow to leave, put the cow outside. And on Monday, let the horse go, and Tuesday, let the sheep go, and Wednesday, put the chickens back out. And then finally, the person, and most importantly his children, all stopped complaining that they had such a small house. Because now they appreciated how big the house was. Everything is about perspective. Everything's about recognizing what God has given us, not what we don't have. Ezehu Ashir, who is a wealthy individual? Hasamech bechelko, if you're happy with what you have. If you're happy, I will show you families in Israel who don't have too much, and they live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and they are more people that's ever entered our houses, living there. But they're happy. How could they be happy coming from America? How could a person be happy sharing a bedroom with 4 other siblings? It doesn't happen. You know, growing up as a joke, we sometimes moved into our siblings' rooms for a couple hours or a couple days. To live permanently with a couple siblings in a room? It's all about perspective. We learn this from this week's Parashat. Serve God with no intention of the reward. The reward will be there. And the reward is, again, not a physical reward sometimes. It's this feeling of accomplishment, feeling of connection, feeling of inspiration. Things that cannot be quantified in physical matters. It's a feeling. A feeling is one of the most powerful things. It's something that's cannot be defined and quantified, and better than that, it cannot be limited. When we have a close connection with God, a real relationship with God, that's a feeling that no one can take away from you, and no one can ever experience it the exact way that you have.